Okay, so why don't we do that then?
Okay.
Steve, we'll do a roll call vote, I guess. Steve Tyler?
I'm
What
here.
are you roll calling? I'm sorry.
Just for attendance.
Okay. Yep.
Steve Taylor is here.
Steve Taylor's here. John Souza?
Margaret Sweet is here.
John Souza's present.
Kevin Mello's present. Okay, so we will take the item 2. We'll begin with item 2, taking item 1 at a later time.
So this one is a continued public hearing for Penelope Lane. I have received an email from the applicant requesting that we continue this item until August. So I guess we would make a motion to continue the public hearing, or to open the continued public hearing, to make the motion, and then.
Okay. So I mean, do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Do I have a motion to continue to August?
So moved.
August, do we have a date and
We
time?
do not have a date yet. It works with the timeline. They are also signing 2 timeline extensions for the definitive subdivision and for the OSRD. We do not have our schedule that far out yet, and they know that. But it would be for the first meeting, the first meeting we have in August.
Because we should be giving a time and date certain for the public. It's a
Again,
public.
you don't have
one's-
your agenda out that far. So, I mean, unless you want me to calculate it right now.
Yeah, we should be notifying the public of a date certain.
It would be good to have our agenda anyway, if there's no reason not to just calculate it now on the every other week basis.
Well, you usually go partway out. So you go half the year and then you do the other half of the year. So it looks to me like you would have June 29th, July 13th, July 27th, and then the first one in August would be August 10th.
Motion to continue to August 10th.
I second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 So you have to do a roll call vote in this
Okay.
particular case. Sorry.
That's okay. Margaret Sweet?
Aye.
Steve Taylor?
Aye.
John Souza?
Yes.
Kevin Mello? Yes.
Okay, so that's 4 present.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is, again, it's something that I think we should all be present for. Christine, what do you think about that?
Yep, that's probably fine. Since we have those people that are going to be on giving the presentation. So if you want to hold off on number 3.
Yes, hopefully this is just takes a couple of minutes to resolve Lori's issues.
So I think I would close the public hearing for Penelope Way as well. So do that.
Okay,
first.
so do I have a motion to close Penelope Lane?
So moved.
Second?
Well, did we open up the meeting?
We did open. We voted to open the meeting.
Yeah, all right. I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yep.
So we have a first and a second. All in favor? Margaret Sweet?
Yes.
Steve Taylor?
Aye.
John Souza?
Yes.
Kevin Mello? Yes.
Okay, so now you're on to item number 4.
So again, I'd like to have a motion. Did you have anything to discuss with us to review?
Yes, I do. This is the surety request reduction for Westview Estate. So the first item you had was requisition number 4, which occurred in, you received it in February. DPW had concerns at the time. They obviously no longer have concerns with regard to that request. The request is for approximately $61,000. That's actually $60,840. So they have recommended approval of that amount. So it would be $60,840.00.
Okay. Any questions?
So moved on the 60,840 release.
Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor, Margaret Sweet?
I cannot vote on this.
Oh, that's right.
Okay. Steve Taylor,
yes.
John Souza,
Yes.
Kevin Mello, yes. So 3 in favor, 1 abstention.
Right. Okay, and then the next part of that is requisition number 5, which is in your packet, and that is came in on May 6th, 2020. DPW did review this one. They had a concern with regard to the construction of the infiltration basin. A portion of the request for $15,000 for the construction of the infiltration basin is not recommended due to the infiltration basin not currently be constructed per the approved design. So the surety, the request was actually for was for $366,215.03. So if you subtract the $15,000 from that, that would be a surety amount of $349,016.03. So it is my recommendation that you follow the DPW's guidance on this and that you release the vast majority of it. There would still be, if you do this, there would still be $1,137,764.13 in it.
Where are we on the agenda? I don't have the agenda item in front of me. What?
You're on agenda item number 4.
I thought we just did that. Wasn't that the?
Well, four and the requisitions 4 and 5 were together on the agenda listed.
Oh, okay. Yep. I just don't.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, so do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
So the motion is for the reduced amount that Christine mentioned,
Right.
correct?
Correct.
Okay. All in favor? Margaret?
Margaret can't, she has to recuse.
Correct, she's abstaining.
Yep.
Steve Taylor?
yes.
John Souza?
Yes.
Kevin Mello? Yes. Even though she's abstaining, I think it would be good to have her vote in that manner for
Okay.
record. Okay,
What do you mean? I'm sorry, Kevin.
when you abstain, we should get you to say,
Oh,
even though I
I'm
know you're saying,
oh, Okay, I'm
that way we
abstaining.
have it on record.
Okay,
Okay, so on to item number 5,
Right.
minutes of public hearing, September 10th.
Oh, so now
We've got to wait for Laurie on these.
you have to wait for Lori on this one because it can only be 3 people. It's only the 3 of you that are doing it, John,
were
Lisa,
there.
Kevin, and
Okay.
Lori. So you can go to,
I
April,
make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of April 6th.
yeah,
do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor? Margaret Sweet,
Yes,
Steve Taylor,
Yes,
John Souza,
Yes.
Kevin Mello, yes.
Make a motion, we approve the public hearing on Penelope Lane of April 6th, 2020.
Okay,
Second.
second?
so
Okay.
now, excuse me, I have one thing with this one. With this one, we just need to put the page thing at the bottom, 1 of, 2 of, whatever. So that would be the only recommended change.
I amend my motion to include Christine's amendments.
Okay. Steve, are you seconding that?
yep, second,
Okay. All in favor? Or, I'm sorry, Margaret?
yes,
Okay. Steve Taylor,
yes.
John Souza,
Yes.
Kevin Mello, yes.
Make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of April 13th, 2020.
Second,
Again, this is the same thing.
as amended with page numbers.
I'll
Second
second
on that?
that.
Okay.
Second.
So vote, Margaret Sweet,
Yes,
Steve Taylor,
Yes.
John Souza,
Yes.
Kevin Mello, yes. One more
Um,
time.
Let's see.
So it's the same thing with this one as well.
Is it the zoning articles? Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the public hearing of April 13th, 2020 zoning articles and the spring town meeting. As amended for page numbers.
Do I have a second?
second.
Okay. Roll call vote, Margaret Sweet,
Yes,
Steve Taylor,
Yes.
John Souza,
Yes,
Kevin Mello, yes.
make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of April 16th, 2020, the joint meeting with the Finance Committee.
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call vote, Margaret Sweet,
Yes,
Steve Taylor,
Yes.
John Souza,
Yes,
Kevin Mello, yes.
make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of April 27th, 2020.
I'll make a second.
Okay. Roll call vote, Margaret Sweet,
Yes,
Steve Taylor,
Yes.
John Souza,
Yes,
Kevin Mello, yes. Okay. On to invoices, item 6. Dartmouth Weekly legal ads for zoning articles, $992.
Move to approve.
Okay.
Christine, is the total of all 3 invoices I see? I didn't do the math. We have 3 invoices.
Yes, you have 3 invoices. That's what they total. No, you
Yeah.
have, I'm sorry, you have 1, 2, 3, 4,
4.
5 invoices. No. Yes, 5 there's 5 invoices.
And Steve, you amend your motion.
Yes,
190,
I'll amend to approve all 5.
176, and 192. And this had to do with the zoning articles.
All right. Roll call vote, Margaret Sweet,
Yes,
Steve Taylor,
Yes.
John Souza,
Yes,
Kevin Mello, yes. Correspondence, legal notices, Dartmouth Conservation Commission. Any questions? Any?
motion to acknowledge and file correspondence.
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote, Margaret Sweet,
yes,
Steve Taylor,
Yes.
John Souza,
Yes,
Kevin Mello, yes. All right. So Christine, what's next for chairman's report?
Well, Lori was going to discuss that with all of you. So I probably shouldn't do that either. I mean, I can,
Okay.
but we have given you all the list from the past to work from. That's how I was told to do it. So you're going to think about it. Well, I guess I can just say it. I would kind of work from that list. You can add new items to it. You can revise it. You can do something, but at least it's a starting point. And then if you have the list for next time of priority items that you're interested in working on, if you get them all to me in advance of the next meeting, we can go from there. So if I have a couple of days to compile the list, Lori and I are also putting together the list. Please keep in mind some of the things that Brian Cruz had brought to us at one time, and then obviously some of the things we've discussed, the DPW or the Agriculture Commission or any of the other boards and commissions that we've kind of spoken about or two recently. So if you get stuff to me within the next couple of weeks.
so Christine, can you add those to this list, this draft? Can you label this a draft? Add those items to the list, and then
Send it back out.
yeah, for our next meeting, when it comes back, we could rate them. You know, we could put our priorities 1 through 10, and then we could score from there. And there's one that's left out. Remember Sue Caducci came before us, the Ag Commission, and we had talked about maybe doing something to add a smaller building envelopes for these APR farms. So I don't know how to title it, but can we put a line item for lot size on APR farms? For a better word at the moment, you know. I don't know where it will fall in that priority, but let's add it and score it.
Okay. Do you want any of the DPW items on there then, on the draft?
Yeah, just put them on there so we can rate them, you know.
You want to rate them, okay.
Right, and just discuss them. Yeah.
Kevin, I have a question.
Sure.
When we were discussing single residence B and how single residence B, you made mention of how, what is it? They cannot get it. We can't get a special permit, or we can't
Yeah, the variances are not allowed.
in a
Residence
residence
A.
B.
Is it
Residence B, isn't it?
All residents,
all residential?
use variances are
Use
allowed.
var- I'd
Use
like to put that on the list because I think that I'd like to change that if we could. Use variance. Thank you, John. I could not remember, but I knew it was something I wanted to talk about.
So do you want me to still continue along this item, or do you want to go back to one of the previous items to?
Christine, before we go back, I think I don't see where on our list of priorities in the immediate future, get our own planning board's discussion about the master plan is in here. That should be on the list and be, in my opinion, priority 1.
Right, well, so this is why Lori had asked me to just work from the existing list with all of you. So, I mean, I'll add these things then and send the
Yes.
list back out.
Then send it back and
And
we'll,
then send it back to all of you, so I'll add that too, okay.
Yeah, right, and I mean, the master plan is, that's next on the agenda. The master plan,
Yeah, I can
It's
go through
gonna
that.
be-
We just have other people who are sitting in here, but I mean, it is what it is, okay. So the next item, I know some of you had reviewed the text that had come in for the section that had began like with life in Dartmouth, and we had briefly talked about some of those things, but I was hoping to get a few more comments before I pulled it all together. And in the meantime, Helen from Serpent has come through with the next section, so I've given you all of it. So I'm asking that maybe you, within the next couple of weeks, send me a mock-up or send me, I mean, a red line, however you want to do it. I don't care if you want to just take pictures of it and send it to me that way. You all have my cell phone number, so you can do that as well. But I didn't know if I'd get any more comments. I mean, and if not, I will give you my comments on the June 15th meeting. We don't really have anything else big on the agenda at this time. So we'll spend an in-depth, we'll have a time to do an in-depth discussion of that. The other item that I have here is Serpent had provided us with I don't know if you can all see it or if you all, I believe you all got it in your package, but like this is the front cover, and they've kind of given me a layout for it. I think that they're thinking that it's going to be 11 by 17. So I'm going to just verify, because I think it's supposed to be 8.5 by 11. And then the only thing that I'd asked to be 11 by 17 were the maps, just based on the size and the way they would format nicely on the, for the town, because the town is kind of long and whatever. So I just wanted to see if you had any strong opinions or objections to the layout as they're presenting it. I think they've done a really good job with some of that, and I appreciate some of the charts and the tables in addition to the text. So now you have 2 sections in front of you, and again, I would recommend that anybody who wants to give me comment, anybody else who wants to give me comment, should do that, within the coming weeks so that I can put it together.
Christine, I'll read this carefully, which I haven't had a chance to do yet, but whichever way you're going to make these charts and text in size and pages, the maps should be north up, just like, so that you don't have to be twisting the pages this way and this way just to read it.
Right. So they have given me two 11 by 17 maps. They don't come north up, like, well, so I mean, they're formatted. No, because they have to be pull out, you'll have to turn the document. So if you want something other than that, you should tell me that. But you'll have to turn the document.
It's not a huge thing, but my first reaction is that without turning the document, people ought to be able to read it, even if you devote a whole page. This page we're looking at has two of these maps that are side by side with some text. Even if that turned into 3 pages, if they were at least all north up and oriented the same way, that would be logical.
Christine, did I hear you mention that they wanted to make the entire document or considering it?
That's what I can't tell. When I look at the link, it appears to me, the front cover appears 8.5 by 11, and that's great. But then when I go through the rest of it, I can't quite tell if they're doing it all landscape. But that won't work.
Or if you could verify that.
Right, so what Steve is saying with the
8.5 by 11, it needs to be a printable document for
right,
the town.
but
No.
as you go through the colored sections of it, it looks like it's mostly 8.5 by 11, and then there should be pull-out maps because your town just doesn't fit to 8.5 by 11.
Or at least a folding map, 11 by 17 is fine.
Right.
Inserting in or something like that, but.
Right.
Okay. And so are we, the June 15th meeting, we'll see this text and your suggested red line.
Yes, I will give you my red lines, but I would like to incorporate any of the red lines that you have to go into it as well. So if anybody's got any comment, what? Yes.
Got the ones
so if anybody has anything in particular that they'd like to specifically call out to me, I would appreciate it in advance. Usually that's how these type of things are done. You know, I mean, you don't want it to just be my take on it. It's your town.
Yes, but you work for the town, so therefore it's your town also.
It is my town also. Very good. Touche. Yes, and I'm very committed. I like the format that they've kind of put together. I mean, I just want to make sure, but they're moving in the direction similar to something that was done for me in Newport. So not by them, obviously, but I do like some of the effort that they're, the effort that they're putting into it and that they're trying to, kind of bring it. But I just want to make sure that it's what you want too. It's not just what I want. That's all.
Okay.
Christine, we have in front of us everything that we need to make comments on. There's nothing else.
Yeah, you have everything that you've got, and if you want it in another format so you can make comments, if you want to do it electronically or you want to just give me a write-up, I don't care. However or if you want to mock it up with pencil, that's fine.
Okay.
But what you said over what you
said over this last time, that's all we have.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have two main sections right now. Land use, and then the first section that you had, which kind of was the background information. So that's what you've got so far.
All right.
The other things I just wanted to bring to your attention, just so you know, we do not have a formal date yet for town meeting. Initially, it was supposed to be tomorrow night. Sounds like it's maybe going to be the end of the month, but I'm not really hearing for sure how it's going to work out, if it's going to be done something remotely. So I'll just keep you posted as I find out any of that. The other thing was the staff was supposed to be, any staff that wasn't in town hall will be coming to town hall. They started today. I had to put together a control plan for our particular office or our particular department. So I am going to have Jane, when she returns, start putting some things on the website with regard to submitting applications and materials and such. The Board of Health is currently reviewing all of these plans for each department and Human Resources. So there will be some changes in how things are dropped off. In the meantime, I'm asking as any applicants come forward or any materials are needed that they email me and that they set up a time, and then I've been bringing it outside or picking up or something like that. So those things are still being worked out, just so you know. We're moving in a direction with that.
Christine, could you just back up a minute for my knowledge and the public's knowledge? So the town hall, all staff members are now working 40 hours. Are they regular hours now? But the town still not open up to the public?
It's still not open to the
Fine.
public because we don't have all of the measures in place.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to understand. So it's, all staff has been asked to come back, but you're still not open to the public.
Right.
And so, but people can do business if they call ahead of time and.
Well, so it depends on the departments and in the case of like collections, I know that they were going to the back door today to receive payments, coming in, making the receipts or whatever, and then going back outside. I know beach passes are being sold in front, so I really haven't paid attention to what every other department is doing. I'm just implementing for our department, so it's only based on what I've seen so far, you know, so there's kind of like a combination of things happening right now.
Well, Christine, on that point, as it affects us, is the town clerk's office back in business, and have there been any changes either to put them online or some other way as to the schedule when we're supposed to file financial reports or not? Or do we have to wait till they're back and then go get them? Or
so the town clerk's office has been, they have been active almost the whole time here. They are in some capacity. You can't get into the building to them, but you can make, you know, you can contact them and make arrangements to get things to them or do whatever you need to have happen.
Okay, so they're available and we can ask them. And do you know if anything has been automated or put online that used to be done on paper?
I know that the town is trying to implement some of those things. Every department is doing different things. I know like the select board's office is doing permitting, and I know DPW, the building department, but again, I don't know what the clerk's office is doing with regard to that. I know in our office, things are supposed to be being scanned and we're moving in that direction too, but.
Okay.
So it's kind of a combination, and I don't know the answer to your question.
Any thoughts to when we'll be doing our meetings regular again?
No, I'm not getting any indication of that either. Again, because of the distancing and things like that. I mean, right now, this is a good time for the planning board to have this happen because typically we don't have a lot of public hearings, you know, and that's usually where the most concern lies. And we don't have a lot of new applications in right now. This is typically, the summer is usually a construction period. It's not so much of an engineering or a, you know, permit things. Our permits kind of pick up in the fall and in the winter. And then it's, you know, DPW and buildings that kind of have the busy part of the summer. So I don't know the answer, and I don't know how many people right now you can have.
Christine, in furtherance of Kevin's question, whenever it is that we might theoretically be allowed to go back in person, and it's various members of the public, and they could vary from topic to topic, might wish to come or not, we ought to definitely put in place the opportunity to still participate by Zoom, whether it's one of us or whether it's a member of the public or whether it's somebody who needs to present to us. That Governor Baker's been crystal clear that whenever possible, in quotes, businesses should allow people to continue working from home for as long as possible, at least until we have a vaccine or a cure, which is going to be a very long time. So just because it's theoretically allowed to go back in person, we ought not to make it so that we have to. We ought to make it so that Zoom still works for anybody who chooses to, or if we run afoul of the maximum numbers allowed, we can use Zoom to still have the meeting.
Right.
As we did the thing in the select board room where some people came by Zoom and some went in person. We got to keep that option open way past the first date that we're theoretically allowed to go back in person.
Right. I mean, again, it'll depend on what they give us for a meeting room and how we work our schedule with the select board, and whether or not
right. We should make a plan
that.
for that. Even if we have to change our schedule, we should make a plan for that.
Right. Well, yeah. So what my concern is that you just voted for something for, you know, August 10th or whatever. And, you know, so that's why I'm saying our schedule isn't really worked out yet. And our meeting location isn't worked out yet. So.
Well, we can either keep the dates and keep the meetings online, or we can change the dates and make the meetings in person. But even if we make the meetings in person, we still got to keep the online option in play. That's what I'm saying.
Right. But I also don't have the authorization to buy the equipment or anything right now. We're also on, you know, so a lot, you know, I think I will know things in the coming weeks. You know, I agree with your concerns.
Yeah, well, I'll just make it, I can make it a simple motion, and I hope my colleagues would agree that we as a board feel that we ought to figure out how to do this both ways in the spirit of public safety and in the spirit of what the governor's already asked for. and we ought to make a plan and give you some authority to go ask for the funds you need to make this happen.
I agree with Steve. I mean, you know, if my concern is if we open public, we don't know how many people are going to show up. And we don't know if they're still going to have, the governor's going to say 10, 20, 50. And, you know, that's a concern.
And we can't turn them away. If we're going to turn them
Right.
away, we've got to cancel the meeting. So we should just make the plan. This online thing has been working fine. I'm sorry it isn't working for Lori tonight, but we can buy her a computer too if we need to. We ought to get you the author. I'm serious. We should get you the authorization to do what you have to do to make this work. And it shouldn't be just on you. All of us should both get the job done.
Right.
Well,
I mean,
I think we're jumping the gun here. Let's see what the next step with the governor is. Let's see what the town leaders decide to do on, you know, finances. Are there going to be budgets to do what Steve's asking to do? There's a lot of unknowns. I mean, we can say whatever we want, but that doesn't mean in reality it's achievable. So
it may not be, John, but we can certainly say that it's our preference. And if somebody else says we can't do it, that's on them. But we can certainly say that it's a good idea.
right, when the time comes, I think we're jumping the gun. I mean, we haven't heard.
But
Nobody
John-
said. Nobody
but
said
we do
we're
have
gonna open up
in our
town hall and
budget.
they're gonna
So
have
if I
public
can
meetings. Not there yet.
But John, and in the beginning, and not that long ago, Christine mentioned that we were all going to get computers. Now, I don't need one, so if Laurie needs one, she can have mine because I have my iPad that I use. But didn't you mention that we were all supposed to get
So
town?
we were asking for iPads, and then they put
Right.
the spending freeze on, and then, but we do have some money in our budget still. Our planning budget is, so, I mean, there are opportunities to do something else if I get the okay. We have enough funds to do that. Again, I don't know. I don't even know where my plan is for the actual office yet. So that's why
Okay.
I'm hesitant to say anything about meetings, because I can't even get the office straightened out at this point. You know, we're kind of in a holding pattern till the Board of Health has an opportunity to review everything.
And I just want to make a further point. I do not think we're jumping any gun here. Governor Baker already went out of his way to ask the biggest corporations and institutions and nonprofits in Boston to keep their employees at home as long as they possibly could, even as he was trying to make it possible for the small businesses who have to get restarted because they have no other way to do so. And he's going to continue to do that balancing act. But we are in a position to act remotely if we need to. We ought to do it. We're not jumping the gun to plan
Yeah,
to do
Steve,
the right and
Steve,
wise
it's nice
thing.
to say that for the governor to enforce or ask big business to do something with deep pockets. That's not the case with towns. You know, the state does this all the time. And they're not doing it now, but mandates that the town do this, can do that, and there's no funds. So let's see what the selectmen and the Board of Health recommend, and then move forward. That's why I said we're jumping the gun. No one has said, Steve, you need to report to the town hall next Monday or next month. Nobody, you know, I think we're going to be given some warning if that happens. So let's see how this plays out and what our leaders plan to do. It's not just simply going out and buying an iPad for board members. DCTV has to have the support network there. I mean, there's a lot to it. So let's see how this plays out. Give it some time. Right now we're functioning fine. So
We are functioning fine, and right now we have one member who is having difficulty with it, but we're perfectly wide open to the public right now. We don't have to spend a lot of money to do this.
Technology, even if you get a brand new iPad, I mean, technology fails all the time. You know, I don't know what's going on with Laurie, but you know, she's certainly been part of the meetings up to date. This is the first
Yes,
time we've
that's
had
right.
issue, so it's been pretty good. We got a pretty good track record at the moment.
We do, and we should keep it that way. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Okay.
I
So-
would, since I would start, I guess we can go to number 3 at this point, just in case she's still.
What I would like to do, if you don't mind, is take a 2-minute recess. I will mute myself and I'll give her a call and find out where she stands,
Okay, perfect.
just so that the applicants have the benefit of the full board if possible.
Because I haven't heard from her either, so.
Yeah, let me give her a call back.
Okay.
So I'll be right back.
All right, 2-minute recess, everyone. Sorry.
I'm back. We'll just wait. Oh, John's back. Okay. So Lori is not going to be able to join us today. There's technical difficulty. She's had 2 different people from Dartmouth TV trying to help her. They don't know what the technical problem is. Neither of them had heard of what it is. It's saying 5G is required. Could be her device is too old. We don't know. So she will not be able to make it back tonight. So at this point, I would give both applicants, let's start with Windsong Acres, number 1, the option to ask for a continuance. Christine, refresh my memory, would it just be 3 of us voting on that tonight? If
it's a public hearing, and it's an OSRD, so it's a special permit and a definitive. So I believe you need a majority. You need 4 members. I'm sorry, for the special permit portion of it.
So we need 4 positives,
right,
in order to get the permit approved. Is anyone on the board that's here tonight, present now, abstaining from the vote on Windsong Acres off Jason Drive? Okay.
Okay.
Steve, is this are you here for Windsong?
No, I'm not.
no, it's the other Steve.
Oh,
Just came
okay.
on.
Hi, Steve.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. I don't know if you've been following along, but we have 1 board member that has technical difficulties and cannot join us tonight. So you need, it would be up to you if you'd like to ask for us to continue it until we have a full board present, or if you want us to move forward today.
Do we have a quorum? God, sorry.
Before we go any further, I probably should tell you a couple of things. I did receive an email around supper time from DPW. They did finish their review of, I'm sorry, let me just pull it up again. They finished their review of this round of the plans, which is dated, well, they've been revised through May 18th, 2020. They said that they still have the stormwater prevention plan. This project will disturb an area greater than 1 acre, therefore a NIPD's permit, a notice of intent shall be filed in a stormwater prevention plan program prevention plan, PPP, shall be prepared and submitted prior to construction, providing a note stating that this is on the plan set. That's the only thing. The applicant has not received this email yet. It had just came in and I was just going to forward it before our meeting started. I can't tell you, I have gone back through the package again because revisions had occurred at numerous times throughout. So you did receive an email from me this afternoon as I took you through the actual OSRD requirements. I do have a couple of items that I wanted to just point out or ask the applicant's engineer just for a little clarification on. So I don't know if you want to go forward with that. I think some of the changes that occur would require that the plan set be updated and submitted again. They're just, like I said, between the 2 things, they're just minor changes at this point. So the next meeting is the 15th, if you want to keep that in mind, if you want to just go through the items now and then continue the vote till then, or if you want me to formalize the list that I have for the applicant, you can all decide.
Well, can I, Kevin?
Yes, Sean.
For the applicant, Steve, says we probably on this tonight. I think it's in your best interest to continue this, open this hearing, because you lose Ari's vote, and she needs to be present for all the meetings, so if she misses one, it's difficult for her to back in. So I would strongly suggest that you can continue the hearing unless you want to take the chance that you think you can get all four present members vote positive, one dissenting vote. At least with I present,
Is he lagging?
you can have one dissenting
Yeah.
and you can proceed. You can get your permit. It's a suggestion.
Thank you for that suggestion, John. I understand that we are missing the head of the board here, and it could work in our favor to wait to vote until the next meeting, which is June 15th. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, yep.
I'd like to, if possible, to address DPW's comments, because I was able to speak with Tim Barber on the phone today about his comment.
Okay.
Yeah, but my point is, once you do that, you lose Laurie at the next meeting.
Well, she can
Even
listen to the
discuss it.
meeting. She can watch the recorded meeting and sign an affidavit similar to what has been
Okay.
done with, so that is an option.
So, John, you're advising to not even speak of this at all and just continue.
Right.
Well, because if you do, if Laurie doesn't sign that document or watch the meeting, she's not available. That's all I'm pointing out. I don't think it's a great risk, but you put yourself at risk when you've got to get, all four members present to vote in favor. I think Laurie has in the past watched videos and has signed the affidavit, but if she doesn't, you're going to continue on. This meeting will be on again with four members, and Laurie's going to have to abstain if she's here. That's all I'm pointing out.
Okay, that's fine. And yeah, I'm happy to continue to the next meeting, especially if Christine has comments, I guess, that are going to require me to do this plan set again.
I mean, they're mostly just minor comments. So then I think what I'll do then is I'll forward you DPW's comments after this, and I'll forward my few questions, or what I was going to propose tonight as questions. I'll put those in the form of comments, and then you can at least address them. And you might not need to update the plan if you address them all, or at least prepare answers to my questions for the board. I think some of the things will be, it's kind of like the access point to the open space, those type of things. I just want a little clarification on that. So yeah, I can send you those comments tomorrow, I think, that would be a better plan.
Do we know that Lori and the rest of the board will be on the next meeting? Or,
I know at this time I plan to be there.
I plan to be there if I possibly can be. I hope I'm not in some COVID hospital, but I plan to be there.
Yeah, I have every intention of being there.
Me too. Margaret's will be there also.
The attendance record is pretty good with the board, so.
Yes. I would say it's probably going to be via Zoom, regardless of what happens in the next
Right.
couple of weeks, again, because we're still nowhere near ready for any type of thing. So I will send you the comments in the morning or my questions.
Sure.
And then that way there you can just respond to both right away. And, maybe you'll feel as though you don't need to change the plan set at all, other than the DPW comment. We know that for sure.
yeah, that's not going to, but I can't talk about it, I guess. So we'll
Right.
talk tomorrow. It's fine.
Okay.
So the 15th, and I don't have to, I'm extended till the 30th, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we're
Yeah.
good. We'll do it the 15th then. Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Thank
make a
you.
motion
I
to
apologize.
this meeting to June 15th.
Do I have a second?
I'll
Second.
second it.
Okay, roll call vote. Margaret Sweet,
Yes.
Steve Taylor,
Yes.
John Souza,
Yes.
Kevin Mello, yes.
So we'll see you
Okay.
on the 16th, and I'll send the comments tomorrow. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you.
Can I interrupt just before we go on to the next item?
Absolutely, Steve.
I've just learned electronically that, I don't know if DCTV checked this with Lori, but about 5 weeks ago, there was a technical bulletin from Zoom that you had to upgrade your software to a certain version or it was going to expire on June 1. And I already heard of one person who just had to upgrade their Zoom today. I remember upgrading mine the day I got that technical bulletin several weeks ago, but that is it's a possible explanation for what happened to her, but it's certainly not the only one. But we should get her a new iPad with a new version of Zoom.
Okay,
I can at least give her the one that's in my desk. So we'll start there. So
all right, wonderful. Just update to the new version of Zoom before you give it to her, please.
Yeah, we should check that. It may not be the answer, but it's a possible answer.
That's why I rely on the DCTV people and the MIS people.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to item number 3. Steve Gioso, you've been following along.
Yes,
So I
indeed.
suspect that you are in the same boat. I don't think this is not a special permit.
That's correct. This is just, again, a request for the board's input and hopefully a consensus vote that what we are looking to propose for this particular site is an acceptable option in the eyes of the planning board. Understanding we'd be moving forward with more definitive plans at some later date. But, and I know you can see that Donat Obashan is here also. He is the current owner of the subject property that we're here to talk about. So if the board is comfortable, we're willing to proceed and hopefully get your input tonight and see where this might take us.
Okay, absolutely.
Okay. Again, for the record, Steve Gioso with SciTech. And as I said, Donat Obashan is the owner of the property. This property is 718 Dartmouth Street. If I may, I can share my screen. I do have a drawing that I can put on the screen and see if we can't share this with the board members. I'm assuming you can see what we have on the screen here.
Yes.
Yes.
Very good.
Okay, so this is the Big Value Outlet property located on the east side of Dartmouth Street. Dartmouth Street here on the western side of the site. Solimar on the lower end or the south side, north to the top of the drawing. We get the Southworth Library just off the drawing to the south and west of the property. And I know the board members who have been on the board for a number of years remember this site. It is the Big Value property. Big Value occupies this central retail portion of the existing center. And the prior owners appeared before the board a number of years ago. We did the plan and we created an upgrade to the property. So we redid the islands, the landscaping. They invested quite a bit in upgrading the look of the parking lot itself. And then they also brought in as an out parcel a bank user for the corner on the northwest corner of the site. And so Mr. Obashan has purchased the property and he's looking at doing a number of things. Number one, he has his architectural team evaluating the facade of the building. As you know, it's an older facility. I remember working on this site back in the late 80s when we did the first off-street parking upgrade back then on this site. And again, the last upgrade about 7 or 8 years ago. And so we're looking at how can we improve the facility, make it more economically viable, and work within the footprint of the land that we do have to work with here. And so, as I said, one of the options we're looking at is some upgrades to the overall aesthetic of the building. We think the main parking lot was upgraded only about 7 or 8 years ago and is in pretty good shape. But what we'd like to do is evaluate the option with the board this evening for the corner of the site, kind of an underutilized section of the property, located next to Dartmouth Street in this corner. Right now it is a paved parking lot. There are parking spaces here. And I'd venture to say that other than somebody parking here for a commuter park, nobody ever uses this section of the parking lot. So we have a kind of an underutilized piece of property. And so Donat is looking at options for the site. And one of the options, or there was look at probably the most intense option that might be possible, so that if another user comes along, it would be a less intrusive use. So we thought we'd start with, and we've explored options with groups like Starbucks to potentially locate a facility on this corner of the property. We think it's an ideal piece on the property because it is isolated from the main parking field. which would remain unchanged under this proposal. And then we would look to create parking adjacent to this particular use, which would also get to share the parking in the main parking field. This parking back in this area here, again, is an underutilized piece of the parking lot. I've been to the center numerous times, and you very rarely see cars parked this far out with all of the spaces being utilized in the upper front section. So we think it's a nice location. It's isolated from the main parking field. It doesn't interfere with the access. The current access off Dartmouth Street comes in. This is an existing break in the parking field and comes in and allows access to the different parking bays coming down towards the main center, but would also serve as a point of access for parking for patrons and employees of a proposed pad site being located here. I started out by saying we went with kind of a high intensity use, something that we think is going to work in this area. It has the ability to function in this location, but also have enough room for proper stacking for a drive-through and provide a drive-through facility here to serve again, a potential Starbucks type user without focusing exclusively on a Starbucks, because we're not sure their appetite for this particular location. The setup does provide a minimum of 10 stacking stalls and a full bypass lane, which would provide access to customer, and we would envision these as employee parking, screen dumpster pad here. You'll notice that there's a little cross-hatched area here. There's actually a deeded easement that's not utilized. It went to a former, I think this used to be a gas station on the corner, and there was a right of access through here. This is actually fenced off with a gate. There is still a deeded right of access in here, but it really has very limited utilization or potential utilization for the daycare center that's located on the corner. But we do show it and respect it on the plan. We would have the landscape architect bolster the plantings primarily along Dartmouth Street and buffer plantings along the daycare center side. Stop line, limiting traffic flow back out into the main access aisle. And when we had the reviewers meeting, there was a question about possibly creating some sort of a striped pedestrian link access crosswalk through here, so that vehicles that do travel through this part of the facility would have a visual identifier for patrons coming up to the building. Since we don't have a particular tenant yet, we don't know where the entry point would be to the building, so we've kind of left the area around the building a little bit generic. We maxed out what we think would be a seating capacity for a facility of this type at 50 seats. And we did that so we could evaluate the parking impacts and the parking requirements under Article 24 of the zoning. So when we look at all of the tenants that exist now, and we have, quite a variety where we have the bank, the fitness center. These boxes are currently utilized by the Big Value Outlet, and their lease continues on this site, so they're continuing to operate here. We've got again, another health-related Taekwondo academy, liquor store, restaurant, veterinary service, and Delkin Cleaners. A number of these, as you know, have been long-term tenants of this facility, and again, we would expect to see them continue moving forward. But in doing that, we looked at the parking ratios and the parking requirements of Article 24. And because of the size of the retail component on this site, you actually have kind of a floating parking ratio that has a minimum required amount of parking for retail and a maximum number of parking for retail when we're dealing with retail uses or retail centers that exceed 10,000 square feet, which this one clearly does. So when I add up the uses and I look at the required parking, we have a total number of parking required minimum of 273 spaces. That's not counting the proposed Starbucks or fast food on the out parcel. When we factor in that use, as a fast food use, your requirement is 1 space for every 2 seats. And so that would be another 25 parking spaces and 1 space for every 2 employees. Even anticipating a 10-employee shift, which we think would be a high number, that would be another 5 spaces. So 30 additional parking brings us up to a required parking of about 303 spaces. The layout you see before you this evening, we have a total of 355 available spaces. So meeting the parking ratio, we think works well. Providing pedestrian access, we think can be accommodated. We think we've got a good circulation for the drive-through, or it wouldn't interfere with the parking field. And we've got a nice bypass and also facility to pick up from the front end, the dumpster location. So what Donat is trying to do is he's putting marketing brochures together for prospective tenants for the pad site, but he doesn't want to misrepresent to them that this is a viable option in the town of Dartmouth at this location, given the parameters of the site. So this evening, what we're looking for is a approval of this concept from the board, with the understanding we have to come in with an architectural plan for the building for architectural review. We have to come in with a detailed parking plan with all of the dimensional and drainage and other issues being addressed. This configuration actually reduces lot coverage a little bit, so we're actually improving on the drainage situation, but we know we're going to have to satisfy public works on drainage, and there is sewer and water available, so we do have municipal utilities. And we're not looking to create any new curb cuts onto Dartmouth Street. So we think that it works within the master plan that was set up for this site. And I'll let Donat add in any other direction he's looking for at this point. But essentially, we're looking to be able to market this in an honest fashion that, yes, this is something that once the planning board sees the specific details, does fit into what the town would envision as a good use for the property, a proper upgrade to keep this center economically viable, work on basically an existing development so we're not clearing new trees and disturbing a new vacant piece of property, and we're kind of working within an existing commercial establishment.
Okay, well, I'll be the first to say, I'll save John the trouble. We need to see some sidewalk connections here, both to the direct access to Dartmouth Street sidewalks, whether it be right by this light blue car that you have to the front. Also the current sidewalk.
We were thinking maybe getting some sort of a connection through here, possibly.
Exactly.
So that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know the Riot Act. Then maybe also some connection from the existing concrete sidewalk that runs from the front of Big Value Outlet to the Bay Coast property.
This area here, so linking across
some type
here.
of connection / crosswalk going across that area. That's my first thing.
Okay.
Also, I'd like to have some limitation to the amount of signs. Right now it seems out of control. I think there's 5 signs for one tenant in that property. So including one directly in front of this proposed pad site. I don't know if that's in the contract, but I've heard a lot of comments. And
yeah, I think the sign you're talking about the signs for the bank?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that had to do with their lease that was negotiated obviously prior to the current owner's owning of the property. So that is, I think, in the lease. But I would anticipate that this would have signage on the main plaza sign only.
Okay, and then on the face of the building or something like that.
Correct.
It just seems like 5 signs for one location is a bit excessive, and I wouldn't want to see that happen again.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I'll wait to hear from the other boards and their comments. Anyone else?
Yeah, Kevin, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So first, I'd like to welcome Mr. Abishon to Dartmouth and his investment in Dartmouth. Steve, to the feedback for you, overall, I think you're on the right track here, right? You know, I don't see any showstoppers here or any big hurdles that you got to jump through to get a Starbucks or something similar to that site. Certainly, you got the room, you got the expertise to come up with the proper design. I mean, obviously, there's some tweaks like Kevin spoke about. You know, I definitely want to see some pedestrian links on all four sides. But I think you're on the right track there. It looks pretty good. And then obviously the site plan review is going to have architectural review, as you know. So overall, I don't see, if you continue on this trend, I don't see any issues with where you're going. A question though, Steve, in the packet we received, you show the existing facade of the existing retail and then potential new facades. So are you making improvements that it's going to trigger site plan review for the existing building? Is that what's going on, Steve? Or are you just upgrading?
Yeah, no, at this point, the only thing happening in Main Plaza would be just the facade upgrade. That's really more for aesthetic and also for tenant marketing purposes. We think it's clearly a tired center, but there is no proposed expansion of the main building. Everything you see there on the plan is existing. There are no additional space being created. So no, we think it's really just a facade upgrade.
Okay. So, and I don't know, it's the zoning enforcement officer's interpretation whether the facade upgrade is going to trigger site plan review. I would ask that you and your applicant take a look at the guidelines for architectural review. When I look at what's being proposed, Steve, it's obviously an improvement from what's there. But you've added some lines and it breaks up the building a lot more efficiently than aesthetically than what's there now. But it's still, in my eyes, if this were going before a site plan review, the new facade still would not meet the guidelines. It's still a box, flat roof appearance. So I would ask that you take a look at those guidelines, look what recently has passed in a recent remodel like this with flat roofs right next door. You had the old Benny's Plaza. They went through a site plan review, a new facade, the Fonts Corner Road, the new furniture at the end in Hope. Were you part of that, Steve?
No.
No, that was, but anyway, so that was a typical square box. They did remodel and they were able to obtain site plan review and new architectural elements were incorporated into that flat box design. I'd ask that you look at things like that if you're upgrading the building. Again, I don't know if we'll have the chance. If you don't trigger site plan review, then you can do whatever you want. But if you do trigger, in my opinion, and I think Kevin would have the same opinion, this does not meet site plan review. And I hope Mr. Abishon at least takes a look at some of those guidelines and try to get as close as possible. But, overall, I think it's going to be a wonderful upgrade. I got one question, and I don't know if you'd be willing to answer it or not. When I look at your facade, I see the existing tenants there, the Delkin Diner Cleaners, the Ying Dynasty, the Acme Liquors, but I don't see Big Value Outlet. Are we losing them as a tenant? Or will they be part of the overall upgrade? Anybody willing to answer that, or is that off limits?
No, I don't think it's off limits. I don't know whether Donut's having audio or video issues.
No, I mean,
Oh.
I'm here. Thank you for
Okay.
your
Okay.
comments, John, and your kind comments about me welcoming me to the
Yep.
community. I've had a number of conversations with David, and their lease is coming up in the next few years. And you know, he's evaluating his continued operations at his age, and so we're in a mode of discussion on him continuing, or with the marketing brochure that I'm proposing to send out, is that 29,000 square feet be available. There is some talk of Planet Fitness expanding into that 6,500 square foot area. Currently, they occupy 14,000 square feet. And the current owner of Planet Fitness now owns or operates approximately 40 locations. He acquired approximately 20 back in November of 19. And he has approached me because typically his Planet Fitness locations are approximately 18,000 square feet or slightly more. This is the smallest location that he has, and he has approached me with expansion. So that's why I highlighted the 6,500 square feet behind Planet Fitness, where there's a good chance over the next few months, once he reopens. I mean, he has been suffering along with Master Lee in this closure. So hopefully come October, November, December, he will be up fully running again, and that we will have further discussions regarding his expansion.
All right.
David I've already mentioned it to David, and David would consolidate his operations and relocate from that 6,500 square feet, which he currently occupies now, and continue operations.
All right. Thanks for your honesty and candor, Don. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, John. You bet. I mean, the
Kevin,
purpose of what I'm trying to do is develop a marketing brochure that I had shared with Christine and with Steve, which markets the, and I'm not sure if you've seen it, it's a 4-page document of which the front page highlights the center, and I'm using the word proposed with respect to the pad site. And my goal tonight would be to see if I would be able to use the word approved in the manner of 4 highlighted points, that the building would be no more than 2,250 square feet, that there would be an approval for a drive-through, that we would have a capacity of 50 seats, and that the parking ratio would be receptive to the town in its current condition. Those were the 4 highlighted points that any serious tenant would be requiring or requesting from the real estate agent. And instead of going back and forth saying if this approved, this is not approved, if we can provide these 4 basic bullet points about the size of the building, the drive-through capacity, the seating capacity, and the parking ratio approval, then that would really minimize the number of conversations we would have with either Steve, with the town, saying that these high-level approvals have taken place, and now with no further to do, either a Starbucks or, for that matter, any other retailer out there, that we would come back to the board with a much more detailed plan, because one tenant has already done their demographic study of the market area and have determined that this is a site suitable for them to put a significant investment into the property.
So Don, all we can do is approve or, give a thumbs up to a concept tonight if the board so chooses, but certainly, if a Starbucks were proposed here and plans were submitted, it would still be subject to a full technical review by the town planner and other town boards to see that it meets site plan review. And certainly, one of our most knowledgeable engineers is Steve. So, I trust that he's on the right path and that this will work there. But there may be tweaks, depending on the review. But
I completely agree with you, John, but I would just like at the high level, this is a 10,000 foot
Right.
level review to say, would the town planning board be acceptable to
Yep, you got a
2,000?
thumbs up for me.
Okay, so
Kevin,
that,
may I speak to that?
Absolutely, Steve. Don, if you give Steve a chance. Steve, what do you have to say?
Well, the first and most important thing I want to say is how much I appreciate that Donat and Steve Joseph have given us this opportunity to say something way far in advance before presenting us with a fait accompli. And I think that the kind of thing you're proposing, I give you a thumbs up, as John does, for many of the same reasons. At the 10,000 foot level, which I do like to operate on before we get into the weeds, I think that that kind of thing is a good idea. And I think just to use an example and not to speak ill of anybody, and I understand the history of Benny's, but we found out that that was going to be a Dollar General or a dollar store, whatever it is, less than 4 miles away from another one just to the east, before we even had a chance to ask whether some other kind of business might have been better for our demographic in our town. And you guys are giving us the opportunity to offer opinions on that subject, whether or not people agree with us. I just really appreciate the chance to weigh in. I hope you're sending your marketing brochure to Trader Joe's if Dave ever decides to retire and the bigger spot needs a thing. So,
thank you, Steve. You're reading my mind. This will go out. You see, with Steve, Trader Joe's comes to you. You don't go to Trader Joe's.
yeah, I've heard that before, but I would love to. If you need somebody to go to Trader Joe's with you, I'll tag along.
Well, I appreciate that, Steve. And clearly, I think the demographics would dictate something like that. If I had my druthers, and it would be more to the tune of a Whole Foods. I mean, I think a Whole Foods.
I'd go for that too. Anyway, we're on the same page. Can I don't want to waste time, but I want to make one other small comment supporting Kevin. He
Yes,
talked
sir.
about some things that would improve the sidewalks. I would urge you to work on the bicycle access too, but that's a small thing. The
Yes.
big thing is thank you for giving us the opportunity to weigh in early.
Well, it's my pleasure, Steve, and clearly this is the way I do business. I've grown up in a retail environment, and it's best to make sure everyone is knowledgeable on what you're trying to do.
Thank you.
Margaret, any questions, comments, concerns?
No, I'm very familiar with this site. I'm very familiar with the plan. I've always thought it was a good pad site. So
Okay.
I don't have any problems with that site.
So you're giving it the 10,000? Well,
Yeah, as long
thumbs
as,
up.
as long as,
Okay.
doesn't change too much, but it's something that's needed in that particular area.
Absolutely. I like the way I like the way it's going. Definitely some bike access, as Steve mentioned. Wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of outside seating. You can mention that in your brochure. I would encourage that. And one thing I did want to touch base on, refer us back to the facade. So I'm giving you a thumbs up for the proposed 2,200 foot pad site. I do agree with John. The facade needs a little bit of work, and I'd hate to see you do it now when you don't have to do it, but then come back because you have a change of use for 29,000 square feet. So if you could do it now one time, and that way when there's a change of use, we don't have to worry about asking you to change the facade a little bit more, given giving it a little dimension, give it a little bit of Cape Cod style. Steve knows what we're talking about. We're not asking for much, but stucco in cedar impression shingles go a long way. So
Okay,
that's it.
Fair enough.
That's all we have to say. Any questions from the applicants?
Not from me. I think one thing that might be helpful for the marketing side, if the board recalls, we appeared before you maybe about a year ago now with the same type of approach for the Dartmouth Mall, and they were looking at out parcel development before the virus hit, obviously. And the board did authorize Christine to issue a letter that I think just summarized the tone of the meeting and the position of the board. If we could get something similar to that, it would be helpful. Just something in the same vein that the board did authorize the last time around.
Okay. Christine, are you familiar? Are you recalling that letter?
There we go. I know we did have meetings with them all. I don't remember issuing a letter, but so much has happened this year. If you tell me I did, I'm good.
Okay. So
I can tell you all that I did bring this. I had them come to a reviewer meeting with this concept that we discussed things. We did a Zoom meeting, and then they also have talked to the building commissioner or zoning enforcement officer, Dave Requina, and he has kind of given an okay with regard to the accepted uses here as far as the drive-through and things like that, that these are all acceptable. So I'm just not sure what it is. We haven't had too many concepts come before us. So other than a letter, what else I can do to assist them, if anything?
Okay. So can I have a motion from the floor to allow Christine to review the Dartmouth Mall file and issue a letter similar to what Mr. Giosa says that she issued in the past?
I would move that she do that if it captures the things that we've all said from the 10,000 foot level. I think that would be fine. I'd move that, second that.
I need you to make the motion and
Well, I'll
someone
make
else
the
second.
motion. Somebody else can second it.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second for discussion. Just
Okay.
a comment. Just a comment. Christine,
Sure.
can we get copies of those letters in our next packet? Because I don't remember the mall one, and I'd like to see the new one you proposed, just to.
Oh, so you want to review it before I send it?
No, you can send it out, but
Just give you a copy of it.
yeah, give us a copy of
Okay.
of the old one and the new one you send out. That's all.
Okay. Roll call vote. Margaret Sweet,
Yes.
Steve Taylor,
Yes.
John Souza,
Yes.
Kevin Mello, yes.
Great.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you very much.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
your
Good
efforts.
luck,
All
and
right.
it'd be nice to have a cup of coffee, a decent cup of coffee south of Route 6.
Well, I'm going to do my absolute very level best.
All right. Roman
Thank you,
Jones is
Kevin.
another good one. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everybody.
And
So now, Steve, Kevin, I would go back to number 5 and I would just continue those September and October 2018 minutes till the next meeting.
Okay.
We only have 2 of you.
Yep, that's correct. So can I have that motion from the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All roll call vote. Margaret Sweet,
Yes.
Steve Taylor,
Yes.
John Souza,
yes.
Kevin Mello, yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote. Margaret Sweet,
Yes.
Steve Taylor,
Yes.
John Souza,
Yes.
Kevin Mello, yes.
All
Okay.
right.